Hello and what's up? New cards to this again for Mothers of the Machines, and we are looking at some tech for white cards that we can use. First off, with our feature deck for the day, which is a standard deck. But first, going through the selected white cards, we can say that we don't really want to spend more of checking each every one, including the common cards. But of course, if there are some common cards that are worth the mention or discussion for a video, then of course we're just going to have those featured here. But for now, we're going to start with our bestie deck, or the bestie card that's back now in the meta game with Archangel Alphabet. So she's now back to its sort of the former Photocast glory, two of any color in double white for 4 starting loyalty counters. Then you have 2+1 to create this white soldier tier token with lifelink with +1. On target creature, it becomes an angel to its other types, and its ultimate is -6. May return all non-land permanents with mana value less from your graveyard to the battlefield. The achievement of this one would not really think would be really great. This got the starting loyalty. This you will be able to cast this one is already 5 after the activation. Then you would just need 2 more turns to be able to return or do the ultimate loyalty or the -6 ability. But since this is just very situational, I think we should have her more of the utility function by having to warm up your board with these soldier tokens, putting those counters on needed creatures that would be able to evade blockers because it gives them angel type and flying, and that's basically what her function would look like. Now for our next card that we can have is a similar angel, but it's more of the Valkyrie type. It's a Boonbringer Valkyrie. It's an angel warrior with a 5 mana cost with 3 and 2 white. It assists the new backup ability wherein when it enters the battlefield, put a counter target creature. If that creature is another one, that means that this is not this one, the Boonbringer Valkyrie. It will gain the following abilities until the end of turn. So it will gain flying, first strike, and lifelink. Doing on the curve or on the play, she would work really well because there's a ability that when get to have your supposedly your 4-drop, we can assume that we have your Prediction Vindicator as your 4-drop, and then you will have Valkyrie as a follow-up play. Then that would get a Vindicator additional +1 and follow the backup ability of flying, first strike, and lifelink. So that's really one example of very good swing by using this card as for your creature curve would look like in the late game. But for the mana value, I think it's pretty much enough or decent for this one. Only disregard here is that I don't really like the 4 mana, the 4 toughness in the setup because of the prevalence now of most of the spot removals, especially for red, that can be able to deal 4 damage or 5 damage even more for most of her creatures. I can basically kill her as to go with their ability, or she would not really sustain that in the field. But anyway, it's still a good creature up to have in this build. And our next feature now is the first battle that has me interested. You can check this one as the Invasion of Belenon. It's just a 3 to cast uncommon that has ability of 5. The siege defeat that should be defeated by 5 or more damage. It enters the battlefield, it will create a 2/2 white and blue-white creature token with vigilance. So it is another creature source, and most especially if you're able to do some link effects to be able to create more of these tokens. But you may have to need to put it under an opponent's control because of having them to protect it by preventing the flip of the side. Since it will go on the flip, if ever, you will have this ability now of the Belenon War Anthem, in which you will have your creatures get +1. So it's more of an artifact. It reminds me also of a similar flip of that of the wedding announcement, though the announcement is more of triggering in the late game. This one goes with the battle or the siege mode type of trigger, wherein if it's defeated, then you will be able to flip this one on its backside. So in most situations, I think since you're going with an aggro deck, you must highly or most likely to be able to go to its defeating this one and flipping this one into your Belenon War attempt, but will be able to have an anthem effect at your board. Now for another mythic card that has been on my watch list, probably on the top, again the white cards that has been prevalent since Pariksha OB1. So this is now the version of Eleanor. We just call her Eleanor on the setup because she would be able to flip out on the other side. She is now a 4 to cast 3/5 Vigilance, but yes, this is a very unique ability and very relevant, especially the having to go with the creature-based aggro deck that we're going to discuss in a bit. So whenever a source opponent you controls deals damage to your opponent you control, that source controller loses 2 life unless they pay 1. So basically a good way to toss it out. Much more if you are using Talia in your deck, Talia Guardian Traben. That's basically a passive way to tax out the creature spells. And with Eleanor's effect, that could be very difficult for your opponent to deal with your creatures or opponents you control. So that means that control deals damage to you or a permanent you control. It means not only dealing combat damage per so, but also going with red spot removal or damage effects that can have those damage dealing spells be able to be nullified in a bit by having them to pay extra for mana, or you will just lose 2 life in the process. Now the bonus here for the able to Eleanor to flip is we got another requirement. Brain will just going to pay 3, sacrifice 3 other creatures and exile her. They will have this ability to get the, where's the version? The Argent Etchings. So this is now the version of the flip card for Eleanor to become a Saga. And of course you would really already know how Saga would work. You can have this first effect that can incubate 2-5 times. Basically you want to have those incubator tokens, 5 of those tokens, the prediction incubator, and then free transform. That's basically transferring all of these incubator tokens you control. So basically you're having 5 2/2 prediction tokens at your disposal to use to your board. In addition, where the next Lord counter trigger, creatures you control against double strike and +1. So it's basically a good swing. At that time, probably your opponents would be really dead by that effect. To have imagining all of these 5 2/2s become 3/3 double strikers. That's I can say 6 times 5, that's 30 damage. So if you're able to connect all of those damage, then this is really a dead opponent at your disposal at the end of the turn or the end of that attack by combat damage step. And then you have this effect, destroy all other permanents except for artifacts, lands, and protection. So basically if there are ways that you have a protection tribal deck, you can have this destroy effect nullified because they are protections all in the card types, and artifacts and lands are also not destroyed in this setup. So this is also a good bonus destroy effects. The bad thing is that you may have some collateral damage in the form of your other creatures that are non-protections, which we can be a casualty for this effect. But nonetheless, you can have this one exile again, then return it face up. So we'll just basically have another Eleanor again at our disposal that you can have to be able to flip later on if you have enough other creatures that you can use to sacrifice to activate this ability. So pretty much that's very solid card, 10/10 I think for that rating. And we'll also consider this one for our next deck list, which we're going to discuss in a bit. We're going to just wrap this up with some of the notable cards. Okay, this one is mentioned supposed to be is the Dust Legion Duelist. This is a cute 2/2 Vampire Soldier with Vigilance, but the bonus here is that whenever 1 or more counters are placed on Dark Legion Duelist, you will draw a card. The only figures that will only draw once per turn, but the bonus here is that you would have this card draw effects that can be really fun. It also reminds me of the 1/1 double striker from Capena card, where it connives whenever it becomes a target of a spell ability. So in this case, you would also that same cards targeting this one by placing counters on your duelists, and you will also draw a card in the process for that one. So considering this one, I also have this one on my list in a bit, which we're going to discuss. Okay, last for that, another notable is the Knight Errant of Eros. This is more of a Convoke version. As remember, Convoke is back again, and it is now being discussed under this white or green cards, and also I think also covered all other colors in this set. The good thing here is that we got this ability that you can look to top 6 cards of library and reveal up to 2 creature cards with mana value X or less from among them, considering that X is the number of creatures that you use to convoke a Knight Errant of Eros. It's quite tricky for the setup, especially that there are situations that you might not have any other creatures on your board. But the good thing is that with the right combination of creatures that can basically survive and be resilient mid-game to up to late game, then you can have a Knight Errant of Eos to boost up as a 4/4 body, and also to be able to get up to 2 creature cards from the top 6 cards of the library. So that's also another gas by not also having a good threat by itself, and that is just a very good early for the situations of mid-game to late game setup. So considering this, I might also have 3 to 4 copies of this in my deck, each which will be having in a while. So last 3 cards before we do for that deck, one of which is the Horizon Sensor. This is another uncommon creature that goes with its ability that it's more like an Archon effect, because its player can cast more than 1 non-precision spells each turn, and unprecision creatures enter the battlefield tap. It makes me realize now that the Phyrexian Tribal now would be really possible, so maybe we might have a new deck covering that creature type in a while once the spoiler is complete. So it's also good 3 tough. It has a good power, toughness for 3, and the limiting is very relevant now with some matchups that are probably casting 2 or more spells each turn on their turn, and considering this one, that would really stop their shenanigans per se of these effects. Now for another card that has I've also had goods review, very relevant now that there are cards that are getting you in permanency control. So this Surge Observation will be your solution for that setup. So you'll have your you in permanency control against hexproof on the end turn, and then prevent all damage with black or red sources would deal to creatures to control this turn. So it would not really that abusive, except that damage effects from black and red sources will be prevented from creatures to control this turn. So that means that attacking you would not really save you from that damage, but it is still very relevant in terms of combat effects or combat what I mean is combat tricks. Perhaps in some situations wherein would need to have no extra mana to cast this one to protect your board against your opponents and during the blocker's step before the combat damage effects would resolve. And another good sweep here is that we'll have a sorry for this small setup. Let me just okay, that's one. It's fine. That is Sunfall. Your 5 to cast sweep in the terms now that you have to exile all creatures, and then incubate X, where X is the number of creatures exiled this way. So again, incubate is a new ability here in the map set, wherein you will create a incubator token with X plus counters on it, and you can just pay 2 to transform this artifact into a Phyrexian artifact creature. So incubating X for how many creatures was exiled on that resolution of Sunfall would be then the number of counters that will be added to an incubator token. So this pretty much works well. You can see this one probably in a blue-white or mid-range or mono-white control deck that has ways to just sweep out creatures at the same time get a bonus creature as they get to have this one incubator token being turned up into a Phyrexian creature that can attack now for their disposal and also do some relevant damage against their opponents. So that's basically it for the card reviews. Now for the deck, which I have then uploaded to my account in Archideck. You can see here these are just some of the error cards that has not yet been legal in standard. So this one is like a mono-white aggro, pretty much basic, because of I want to really show to you guys what some of these potential cards would look like in just a typical mono-colored deck setup. So we have this one battle wherein we consider Invasion of Belleron as one of our source to generate a creature at the same time have an anthem effect. We have 2 wedding announcements, 3 source observations, 2 Archangel Alphabet, and a bunch of creatures that's basically composing 29 with 23 lands at our disposal. So quick rundown of our creatures. These are just commonly used cards in our white mini decks that are not we can say that these are not the version of the soldiers deck that we are really used to do so. So we have some good 1-drops with Hobble Initiate that can train or have these effects to destroy artifact or enchantments. Sclave against, again, the most probably the newest of the card that's added in the white mini shell because of its ability to can be able to protect a creature you control from any spot removal chosen for that color. And then these new cards, we have 2 copies of Dust Legion Duelist, as again would work well with adding counters, which is what well that can add counter for it aside from Archangel Alphabet is that we have some siege veterans here that can add counters at the beginning combat and target creature control. That would be a good three combo, sort of a mini combo per se. And you can draw a card and then put counters to creature. Another 2-drop is the Guardians of Jubilee again. This can enlist basically, but at the same time it can be very relevant because it can gain destructible for any spot removals that may have or combat damage effect. It can be very relevant in the setup. And now for the 3-drops, the Intrepid Adversary is back again with the setup, in which you can have 3 copies in the deck. With an effects, you pay additional white. And again, try Athalia, Guardian Trap, and again, it's an auto intuition, but we're not really considering 4 in this deck because of some of our cards here that are non-creature spells. And we have a 4 replace of Brutal Qatar. Brutal Qatar plus those Squirrel plus the effect of the 1 mana Surge of Salvation would not really be hard or very hard for your opponents to deal with, because basically you can just have the exile effect of your relevant creatures, have the flip card on this one, and if you can flip this one again to its day bond, then it will have another exile effect to your relevant creature of your opponents. And again, Siege Veteran, 3 copies. We have also included 1 copy with Norn. It's more now the support card per se, but there are some relevant sides on it that you might have some extra creatures to sacrifice to make her flip to her other side for the Argent Itchings version. And again, Night Iron of Eos was considered here for the 5-drop, as well as for a good way to gas for your mid-game and late-game action. And of course, the lands is basically with plains with Eganjos or channel land for any utility card. We might also consider some of the non-basics here, but we will see now once that we have some new cards to utilize for March of the Machines and other preview cards that they might have now in the next days or weeks. So that's basically it, guys. That's our new deck. We have some white card discussions that we have hopeful that we can be able to use now with the new March of the Machines set coming in probably just 2 weeks from now, and we'll have a pre-release in the 15th and release party basically on that weekend also. So I guess that's about it, guys. Thank you for checking this one. Just quick wrap down of the deck value. It's the 2.41, mostly white, and we have just 2 tokens or deck tokens that we can use for this one. Thank you for checking this one. I do hope to see you on the next March of the Machines card previous discussions in some deck list to include again for our consumption and of course for our enjoyment. Thank you for checking this one, guys, and see you in the next video.